Hello everyone, Action here. Hope you're doing fine. So today we'll cover the dev diary and also everything that was released in the official livestream with the game director and in other official channels. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. First we have the biomorphosis ascension perk. Regular Empires will have it unlocked as their third Ascension perk, but Empires with the overtuned origin will have it as their second Ascension. And after taking it, you start the Biomorphosis situation, which is very similar to what we have in the Machine Age. The situation will transform your society, and depending on your choices, you will be able to choose between purity, cloning, or mutation tradition trees, just like we have with machines. At the beginning of each stage, you'll select one of three philosophical and technological approaches to guide your development. And that, my friends, is very, very important because it will definitely affect your traditions. So the purity is more focused on perfection lines in refinement. The cloning will be, as the name suggests, mass production, and the mutation embraces chaos, randomness, and radical adaptation. Now for each stage of biomorphosis, you'll have different narrative events and mechanical consequences, all tailored to your chosen approach. You can double down on a single path or mix and match to create something truly unique, a mosaic of flesh, thought, and purpose. But don't forget to build a genomic research facility on all your planets, otherwise you won't have the facilities to engage in genomic research. So if you guys are familiar with the Cyber Ascension, we have to build the augmenters plant in every single one of our planets to begin. This will function similar to that. And now we get to the biggest change, the modular tradition trees. Now, unlike in Machine Age, every single one of these ascended tradition trees will have a set of special perks that will change based on your decisions. Some perks will be refined during the situation and others at the beginning and at the end of it. Here we can see that there are three icons marked as interrogation points. These perks are going to be defined throughout the situation, whereas the ones on the right side are defined by your start and finish choices. After you complete the situation, your adopted traditions will have all the perks, but some of them may come from other traditions. In this case, the three perks on the left are one from cloning, other from mutation, and the last one from purity. So those images were collected in the dev diary stream, and they picked the mutation, but based on their choices, they had this outcome. However, we can clearly see that in the dev diary image, the icons are different. So it means that they adopted the mutation in the beginning and at the end of the situation, but during the middle, they chose a different path. That's why the different icons and therefore different perks. We'll also have the advanced authorities, and oh boy, I have a slight spoiler for you. It doesn't show on the dev diary, however, in their live stream, they have revealed all the mutation authorities. On the dev diary, we can only see what they do, but we do not have access to what they actually represent in the game. It's pretty much just a concept. So starting with the democratic one, we'll have a basic modifier that is very good, 10% to happiness, resources from jobs, unity, and also a research speed bonus. And the Empire ruler will have the faction resource output bonus. I think it's the same that we have with the democratic regular government. Now for the oligarchic, we're gonna have an elite happiness, crime reduction, faction resource output bonus, the same amount of research speed, and this time we'll have only specialist pop resource output and a slight reduction to their happiness. So overall, I think it's a little bit weaker, but we'll have to see. As for the dictatorial authority, we are not gonna have the research bonus for some reason, and instead we're gonna have more crime reduction from enforcers, more unity from them, also the same amount of faction resource output as we had in the oligarchic, and a bonus to stability. Overall, it's been the weakest one of the three we have covered so far. For the mutation Imperial Authority, we are gonna have the same effects as regular Imperial, plus 10% resources from jobs in the capital system, And the Empire effects will be a reduction to leader pool size, more leader XP gain. This time we'll have the research speed bonus and a 10% work pop resource output bonus. It's still very good. And we'll have an advanced authority for the hive mind, and it completely changed. So for the regular hive mind empire, what you have is the pop growth bonus and the empire size effect reduction, but for this one you'll have a stability bonus, a reduction to leader cost, a decrease to empire size from pops, and a plus 20% worker pop resource output. I think that it's gonna be manual drone resource output rather than worker pop. I think they just have to change the name a little bit. You're also gonna have a megacorp authority. This is a very interesting one. It's actually the one authority that adds a mechanic so far, because keep in mind everything that we are saying here is subject to change and may have some special effects in the society events that we are not seeing right now. So for the oligarchic one, we'll have our unity upkeep for organic leaders replaced with trade upkeep. We'll also have a bonus to our monthly unity and happiness and an increase to crime. So basically, it could be very good depending on the amount of leaders you have and their respective levels. However, we have just covered the 6 authorities for the mutation. There will also be 6 authorities for cloning and purity. And that's gonna be covered in future dev diaries, but we do not have any information regarding them right now. However, one thing we have is the clone interlude. Now people have asked, how does the clone army origin interact with biogenesis? Well, this is where the fun begins, my friends. It's gonna be completely busted. So remember when I said that Overtuned could grab the biomorphosis as their second ascension perk? Well, with Clone Army, you'll be able to get it as your first ascension perk. Now, how OP is that? However, there is a slight important detail to it, which is you cannot take biomorphosis until you have discovered your genetic potential, which basically means finishing the clone origin events. However, once you do unlock your genetic potential, you grab the biomorphosis and you can choose between clone fertility or clone potential as always. And if you take the clone potential, you'll have the clone soldier ascendant, and you can only take the cloning ascension path for obvious reasons, to be honest. But if you take the clone fertility, you can grab any of the purity, cloning, or mutation options. Now, the clone potential is where I think it's gonna be completely busted, because first, I don't know if you have played as a clone army origin, but they have some insane pop production bonuses. And the upgraded cloning path grants the following in addition to the regular rewards. So we'll be able to genetically modify clone soldiers, regular clone vets, genomic research and medical buildings increase the number of clone soldiers sustained per planet, and we'll be able to apply the clone soldier trait to other species via genetic modification. So yeah, folks, we can have ascended clones forever. We'll just have to see the numbers, especially how many trait points does the clone soldier trait occupy. Because if it is too expensive, it's gonna be quite hindering to get on a new assimilated species. And in the next week, the devs will be exploring the phenotype traits and the evolutionary predator's origin. And for those of you that have stayed this far into the video, I'm gonna give you a surprise. So during the live, the devs have leaked a little bit of the traits, and we are gonna have one of the most powerful traits in the game, which is gonna be the mutagenic habitability trait. I even dare to say that this trait will be even stronger than, let's say, dark matter engines for machines. Oh, action, but how do you dare to say such an audacity? Well, folks, the mutagenic habitability does what automodding does for the traits, but habitability instead. It means that if you have a pop in a frozen world and your pop has the desert world habitability, it will slowly change to fit in the frozen world. So you can pretty much have more than perfect habitability across all planets. And those habitability bonuses also include artificial worlds. So on Ecomonopolis, for instance, you have the base plus 100% habitability, and you're gonna get a plus 50% habitability on top of that. That will work for orbital habitats, ring worlds, etc., Gaia worlds even. And for tomb worlds, we're gonna have a plus 80% habitability. And I know that habitability above 100% is useless in almost every scenario. However, this trait will give you a 2.5% resources from jobs for every 10% habitability, and also a 2.5% reduction to pop housing and pop amenities usage. So in essence, your Ecomonopolis is gonna have a 100% base habitability plus 50% from the bonus mutagenic habitability, and you're also gonna have other modifiers such as habitability tax, granting us even more bonuses. So if you combine everything and reach, let's say, a plus 80% habitability bonus on Ecomonopolis, we are gonna be getting a 20% resource from jobs bonus and a 20% pop housing and amenity usage reduction on our Ecomonopolis. And that, as I said before, can be applied to Gaia and the Hive worlds. That's insane. We're also gonna have a tradition that will allow us to gain the Leviathan traits for a species modification. The devs also showed us the Deep Space Citadel, and apparently it will be in the ship designer. So we'll finally be able to modify our starbases. At first, it seems that it's only gonna be the Deep Space Citadel, and it's gonna have 3 levels. However, we'll have to see if it will work for every single starbase. So yeah, everyone, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next Dev Diaries. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.